Hey guys, welcome to the first ever Workshop Wednesday. Today I'm going to be taking you guys through the very basics of Adobe Illustrator. I'll be taking you guys through two primary sets of tools. Number one, the pen tool, and number two, the shape tool. There's a bunch of different variations of both of them, but they are the core of Illustrator. You can pretty much create anything you want to straight from those two tools. So I'm going to walk you guys through how to import the worksheets that I made for you guys and how to get started. So first things first, we need to launch Illustrator. So while I'm doing that, I'll just let this go. If you guys have Adobe Illustrator 5.5, you'll be following right along with me. If you have a previous version, you'll mostly be following along with me. I don't think there's any real drastic changes. And if you have a newer version, I'm not too sure because I haven't used Creative Cloud yet. So if you guys are on that version, just try to follow along as best you can. But I don't think that anything should have changed by comparison. So here we go. I'll give you guys links as annotations and include them as comments or part of the about section of the YouTube video here. But what you guys will do is you'll go online, you'll download these. These are just JPEGs, all right? So, and what it's going to look like is just this. It's just a nice little worksheet. Talks to you about, you know, sort of what each of the different pen tool icons are, and what sort of their function is, so to speak. From there, we'll go in, and this video is going to be sort of directly in line with these worksheets. So as you go through these, I'll be doing them in the video so you guys can kind of have a demonstration first, and then we'll go through sort of all the different techniques and tricks and tips and hotkeys and everything in between as we kind of progress through these worksheets. So I have one for the pen tool and one for the shape tool, and you'll want to get both of those before you go any further. So make sure you grab those. I'll put an annotation up in the video, or a little link or button or box or wherever you need to go. Probably just be an image or link to click and grab. So first things first, we're going to grab the pen tool one, and if you want to do it this way, you can just click and drag it in here. I'm going to go the roundabout way, the longer way, just to make sure that everybody knows how to do this. You just go to File, Open, go to your desktop, and find the pen tool right there, open it, and this is what you get. Your document by default will be a little awkward. It doesn't really matter, especially when you're opening a file like this. It just needs to kind of be housed in there. My personal preferences, for whatever reason, I don't really work on the artboard until I have finished stuff, so I just click and move that off to the side. I'm using just the let me full screen this. I'm just using the selection tool here. So this is the first tool by default that you'll have. You don't have to do anything with it. It allows you to click and drag everything, scale it up, scale it down accordingly. All right, so you're not missing out on anything there. There's no tricks really. So what we want to do is we actually want to lock this layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the layer panel. Okay, if you don't have that window, you're going to click on Window, go to Layers. You can also hit F7. Illustrator and Photoshop both have sort of hotkey labels on all their tools. So if you ever find yourself clicking in a context menu and you come up here and you find the same tool over and over and over and over, you can eventually learn the hotkey if you want to. I prefer hotkeys, but for the sake of teaching you guys, I want to make sure that you guys see the long way to do everything and then eventually the hotkey way. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this, select that layer. You're going to come over here and you're going to click the little dog-eared page, which is the new layer button. So that'll give you layer 2. You'll see there's this little tiny guy, this little tiny box on the right side of layer 1 that indicates that you have this layer selected. You're going to click and drag that if you want to. You can click and drag that to a new layer, or what I'm going to do is I'm just going to toggle the lock on layer 1, and that's going to lock that layer and allow me to not have to worry about it ever. So I can't move it, I can't scale it, it can't get in my way when I'm working. It's very important that you do that so that, you know, if you have a sketch or anything you're working on, that it stays way out of your way. Just so you don't kind of conflict with anything, you don't move anything around on accident because maybe you're zoomed in really far and then things sort of start to get off kilter, and then it ends up, you know, you messed up your project and you're 20 minutes in. I'm saying that from experience. So yeah, what we have here is just sort of, unfortunately, for whatever reason, I don't have it fully rendering the quality there. Might be a better option to increase the file size before I give these to you. You'll notice that these aren't finished yet either, because there is a youtube.com/ right here. I'll be adding the link to the YouTube video that goes with these worksheets to them, so that you guys can always have that reference there, just to, you know, in case you forget what the link is or whatever, I'll have it included there. So I'll definitely make these better so they're more clear for you guys when you open them up. But what we're gonna do, since I don't really need these to be too clear, since I kind of made it. So what you're gonna do is, it says pen tool exercises, the greatest tool in all of Illustrator. I don't know if that's actually true. I'd like to think that it's true because I use it for pretty much everything. But it allows you to create and modify shapes, lines, paths, and create a wide array of different things. It is definitely a must-know tool in Illustrator. That's just my own opinion on it. Some people might think I'm crazy, but I definitely doubt many people would be against that statement. So what we have here is a diagram of all the different icons that come along with the pen tool. You'll notice that the pen tool doesn't really change so much as the little symbol next to it changes as you're sort of doing things with it. So first up, the pen tool lives right here. It's the fourth tool down on the toolbar. It looks just like this. I don't know if I can't really zoom into it, but it looks basically identical to these guys right here. And the first one you'll see is start a new path. It has a little X. Okay, so the first time you click, it's going to give you that X, and then from there on, it'll give you different symbols according to what you can do with your path. So in the event of starting a new path, when you click somewhere, it gives you an anchor point. When you click somewhere else, it gives you a second anchor point. And when you do that, it gives you a path, and a path is sort of just, you know, a line in space, wherever that lives, wherever you clicked. You can do whatever you want to with it. I'm moving it around using the move tool again, the selection tool. This tool you start by default with. So again, you're going to use the pen tool, and I'm just going to go through these really quickly. So to start a new path, there's your clicks. That's what happens. To add a point to a path, okay? So if you have a path created and you want to add an additional point somewhere, anywhere inside of those two ends, you can just click and add an additional point. The reason you want to be able to do that is because later on I'll talk to you guys about moving things after the fact, which is what I'm doing here. You can kind of move these all over the place and kind of create some unique shapes that you wouldn't be able to if you only had 2 points. So it allows you, or it affords you, the ability to sort of modify things further later on if you already have a path made. Remove from path tool, so if I have that point there, and I want to remove it, or if I have excess points and I need to get rid of an extra one, you'll see if I hover over one, it'll give me that minus remove point from path version of the pen tool there. If I just click, it'll get rid of that. That's pretty much all there is to that one. Endpoint / edit continue. Whenever a path ends, it will give you this sort of backslash, forward slash, I think it's backslash, that will essentially tell you where you're at on the path, which if it's an open end or if it's a closed end. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is I'm just gonna make a little box. I'm gonna move this off to the side so you guys can really see it a little clearer. So if I hit P here, it's gonna give me that backslash, and then I'm gonna click on it, and then I'm gonna continue to create my box from here, and you'll see that my guides are kind of giving me a little heads up here, telling me where to go to kind of line up with the previous anchor points. So I've added paths from the endpoint, connect, continue. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the path, and you'll see that it has a little circle there. So when I go back up to the original point that I made first, it's going to close that, and it's going to be a closed shape. Now from here, I lose the ability to continue editing that without simply adding a path, or adding a point, subtracting a point, or converting a point to kind of bend with handles. And you guys will see what I'm talking about with that here in a second. What else? Join / add to path. So In the event that you make multiple shapes, right? So I'm just going to make another square here. It's going to be kind of unfinished, and that's going to live there, and it's going to be open. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another shape over here that's open as well. And if I want to connect the two of these together to create this sort of weird parallelogram, or polygon, whatever you want to refer to it as, it kind of looks like a parallelogram since it's all straight. But anyway, whatever. You're going to click here on Convert Anchor Point Tool. It's just going to kind of continue there since that's the point that we already have selected. I've never selected off of it. And then we're going to go down here, and we're going to see that it gives us this tool right here, the Join/Add to Path tool, so, or version of the pen tool. And it's just going to click, and then you'll see that now we have this sort of connected piece, and then we're going to close it up, and that's that. So now we have this weird shape for whatever reason, but I just wanted to explain to you guys what these four do. You're going to see them as you go through the worksheet as well, but just to give you guys a little bit of a preface, there we go. So here we go, straight lines. You'll see everything is labeled at the start. I walk you guys kind of through the whole thing. I said like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it walks you through that, and you end up at the beginning again. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to simply click on number 1 to start. Then you're going to click on number 2. You're going to click on number 3. Click on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and what you'll end up with is you'll see that there's a fill here, and you can't see that additional point. Might be a little bit of a problem, right? Wrong. Easy way to do this is to click on the white here. This is the fill. And what you're going to do is you're just going to click on none, which if you want to get fancy with it, you can click backslash, and it will actually get rid of the fill there. You see how everything, like I said, if you just hover over it or you look in the contextual menu, it will give you the hotkey. So you definitely want to remember that. You can do a couple things, you know, like there's different hotkeys for sure for everything. So that's one to remember, is backslash when you're working with an object to get rid of the fill. I would say that I use that more often than maybe any other hotkey, just because I use the pen tool a lot and have different fills. So anyway, clicking back on this, we're going to click back on 9, and then we're going to click back on 1 there to close it. I didn't actually annotate that, but I think you get the point of how to make a star. This is my first worksheet, so kind of bear with me here, guys. But anyway, so there's your star. That's pretty much it for the basics of that. There's nothing fancy. I don't want to get into anything you can do with paths, just because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself or too far ahead of where you guys are at knowledge-wise. So you're just going to click through those straight lines, nice and easy. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to work with what are called handles to create some curved lines. So the handle, which you guys haven't seen yet, is what happens when you click and you drag in a direction. You see these little lines that come out of here that sort of give me these, well, handles. So what basically is happening here is these handles will effectively modify the line to bend in the direction that the handle is pointing. Okay, so when I click here and I drag out to the right from the initial click, that's telling the program that I want my line to go out and to the right, okay, and bend in whatever direction that is. Think of it kind of like just a tangent point that's meeting a curve. It's hard to kind of explain without seeing the second step here. So what you want to do is click 1. You're going to hold shift for part 2 and drag it out, okay? Holding shift in Illustrator restricts things to be very straight lines. So if you want a square, if you want a 45-degree angle line or 90-degree lines, flat straight lines, you're going to want to hold shift, okay? It's just a hotkey trick that you're going to want to know pretty much forever. It just modifies the line path or shape to always be straight. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to click down here at number 3, right? And then you're going to drag down, all right, drag down to 4. You can hold shift here as well, but if you feel like you're accurate enough, you actually don't have to do that at all. You can just click and drag if you're feeling frisky, and you'll be in good shape. So you're going to continue that around, okay? So clicking and dragging all the way around, still clicking and dragging here, and we're going to get back to number 1 here and finish this out. And what we're going to end up with is a little bit of a problem, or not so much of a problem, I should say. You're just going to click and drag to the right here. And what that's, and you're not actually going to drag it over to this edge over here to the left. You're going to drag it to the right. I need to modify the worksheet. That's my bad. So what you're going to do is you're going to click and drag to the right, and it's going to end up right here is how far you're going to let that handle drag out. So basically, even with where we drug out the first point there, you're going to have a nice, neat, clean little circle with 4 points. Okay, so that's pretty much how we do that. So again, I'll just do it really quickly here. So click, drag, shift, click, drag, click, shift, drag, click, shift, drag, click, shift, drag, and then you end up with your perfect circle. All right, so there you go. I am showing you guys how to make basic shapes, which the shape tool that I'll show you guys next is actually way more handy for, but I think you guys get the basic idea of that. We're going to move on to multiple curves now. So what you're going to do here is follow along again. You're going to click here at number 1. You're going to hold shift and drag straight up to number 2. You're then going to click on number 3 and hold shift and drag down to number 4, and continue that pattern on, following the steps, keeping these all in line. And what you're going to end up with is this nice little squiggle here. Okay, I'll just drag it off so you guys can see it. So you're going to end up with this nice little sine cosine pattern, just like you're back in algebra, geometry, and trig. Tons of fun. Am I right? Am I right? Or I'm probably bringing back like horrific memories. But so yeah, that's how that's done. I'll go through that one more time. So you're gonna click on number 1. You're gonna shift drag up. You're gonna then click on number 3, shift drag down to 4. You're gonna click on number 5, shift drag up to 6. Click on number 7, shift drag down to number 8, and that's gonna do it for that one. Real easy, nothing crazy. Should be pretty straightforward. Now we're gonna get a little bit more advanced. I'm gonna add in another hotkey. Okay, in the third example here. So I just want to let you guys know that that's coming up. But here is just another variation of what we just did. So you're gonna click on number 1. You're gonna hold shift and drag down to number 2. You're then going to just click. Okay, you're not gonna drag here. You're just gonna click. All right, and then what you're gonna do is from there, okay, you're going to hit Alt or Option, and what that's going to do is you'll see that turns your mouse pointer into the Edit Anchor Point tool. What that allows you to do is grab a handle from a point that is pre-existing, whether or not it already has sort of a curve to it. So just to show you guys an example, I'll zoom in here. Okay, you can get really close in Illustrator here. So I'm going to hit Alt, and you'll notice that I already have those points sort of there. When I click on that, it gets rid of the handles and gives me sort of this different effect here. If I hold Alt while I do that, I can actually bend those back out, and it ends up fixing it. Or I could go the opposite direction there and end up with a different sort of pattern. Okay, so the Alt key turns the pen tool into the Edit Anchor Point tool, which is what's used to sort of modify an anchor point after it's been created. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go back. We're going to hit Alt and then shift drag down to the next point, and then we're going to click again, and then we're going to hit Alt. You're going to let go, I should say. You're going to click and let go. Okay, then you're going to hit Alt and drag it down. Then you're going to let go, click, let go, drag down, and then if you really wanted to keep going and stay fancy with it, you could go on for eternity, but I think that three repetitions is enough to teach you guys the basics. At the end of this, after I show you guys the next one, I'm going to have you guys kind of do some challenges. All right, I gave you the anchor points. I did not tell you where the handles need to go, but we got little Nike and McDonald's logo creation for you guys set up. So just a little real world example of what these tools can do for you. Okay, so you're gonna click on number 1 here. This is gonna be kind of a mix between the two here. We got the same sort of half round curl, and then we also have the points. So it's kind of combining the two with curves and corners here. So you're going to click on number 1. You're going to hold shift and drag up. Okay. And then you're going to click on number 3. While holding down your mouse button, you're going to shift drag down. And here's where it gets a little bit different, okay? You're going to hit Alt again, and you're going to get that Convert Anchor Point tool, okay? And then what you're going to do, instead of clicking on the anchor point, we're going to actually click on the handle, okay? And you're going to drag that up, following the dotted line, right back up to where the other anchor point, or the other end of the handle is, okay? And you're going to leave it right there. And then you're going to go to the next point across, and you're going to click, shift, drag down. And you're gonna notice here what that's doing for you is it's telling what it's doing. Okay, let me rewind. What it's doing is you're clicking, telling the anchor point you want this curve to go up. Okay, since that's where you drag that initial handle, and then you're gonna click over here, and you want this to extend downward because you'll see that handle. Okay. The next click, for instance, if I don't move this handle back up, what's going to happen? It's going to follow this down and around here, and we don't want that to happen. We already did that example, right? Okay, so what we need to do is we need to get the handle back up to the top so that our next click actually goes back upward. Okay, remember, it's going to follow the handle in the direction the path is going to follow the direction of its preceding handle. I know that's kind of a weird way to think about it, but whatever previous handle you have set up is where that's going to go. Okay, so again, click, shift, drag down. You're going to hold Alt. You're going to let go. You're going to hold Alt, click, and drag that handle up to meet the previous one, and then you're going to click across to the next point. Hold Shift. Let go, hold Alt, click, and bring that guy back up, and then click, hold Shift, drag down, let go, hit Alt, and then drag that handle back up, and there you go. You end up with this nice little set of mounds here. Kind of looks like, I'm not gonna say it, but you know what I'm talking about. Ever seen Total Recall? You know what I'm saying? All right. So next up we got challenges. So this is going to be really simple. I'm going to do these as an example to show you guys. I'm not going to talk about anything I'm doing here just because I want these to be sort of an example for you guys to really test yourself and see if you can use this tool to the best of your abilities. Feel free to go back up, delete, some of the previous pieces. I'll tell you right now that these are the ones that you're going to be primarily using right here, the curves and corners. So I'm going to go ahead and start on this. Again, I'm not going to tell you guys exactly where any of these points are going, but if you watch closely, you'll kind of see how easy it can be, all right, to sort of make these things. All right, so there's a lot of experimenting that goes on here. There's a lot of different techniques that go into these simple logos. That's why I kind of picked them, because they're not the easiest thing in the world, but they're definitely not the most difficult either. So, and they're also visible all the time. They're very popular logos. Just to see how simple it is to create something that's effective is pretty cool, I think. Maybe you don't, but you should do it anyway. So there you go. I've got McDonald's and Nike. Took me a couple clicks. No big deal, right? Right. All right. So as you guys can see, it's actually really easy to make. To make those kind of shapes, make those complex shapes, combining all the things that I just went over. The more you use the pen tool, the more you're going to develop the ability to move quickly and understand what the pen tool is going to do for you. Okay, so that concludes the pen tool portion of this. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. You guys can save this if you want to use it as a reference later on. I'm not going to. I don't need to. But we're going to move on to the shape tutorial page, or the shape worksheet. So you should have downloaded this one as well. with the pen tool, we're going to go ahead and click and drag that in here. We're going to do the same thing that we did before, where we just move it off to the side. We're going to make a new layer, and we're going to lock layer 1. Okay, so let me rewind just to make sure you guys all got that. Okay, we're going to rewind here. Got it in the program. We're going to move it over to the right. Okay, you're then going to click on the new layer button. You're then going to click on the lock on layer 1 so that we don't have to worry about accidentally clicking anywhere on this worksheet and messing it up or dragging it somewhere we don't want it to go. All right, so with that, we've got layer 2. That's the layer we should be working on. Another breakdown of sort of what these tools can do for you. So it just says shape tool exercises. The shape tool allows you to create generic shapes in a variety of ways that can help you speed up your work process and give you some cool results. So again, remember I had you guys kind of create a star and a square in the in the pen tool exercises. What you end up getting into later on is that you can just use the shape tool for a lot of those simple shapes, and in some cases more complex shapes depending on the situation and what you really need it to do for you. So first things first, we have all these tools right here. They can be found by default. They're all underneath the rectangle tool. The way you get to them, okay, the way you get to them is actually clicking and holding down on the tool itself. Okay, so you have rectangle, rounded rectangle, ellipse, polygon, and star tool. And they're all right there. So we're going to start with the rectangle. Okay, these are pretty straightforward. And you're going to click at 1. You're going to drag down to number 2, and you're going to end up with a nice little box right there. Okay. Now remember what I said earlier about those straight lines or constraining your tools. Okay. In this case, all right, you're going to hold shift after you click here. So you're going to click, holding shift, drag it down to number 2, and you're going to end up with a perfect square. Every single time you do that, it will end up with a perfect square. Now, there's another trick with all the shape tools. Anytime you want to create something from the center of a click, okay, so there's actually a lot of times where you'll use this. It might seem like a weird way to do things right now, but you'd be amazed at how handy this comes in if you need to line something up with the center of another shape or the center of a different object, whatever it may be. All you have to do is click, and then you're going to hold Alt, okay, and then you can drag it out from the center. All right. In this case, I have you guys holding shift again here just to show you that you can hit multiple hotkeys or multiple modifier keys and end up with some similar results, but you're constraining it. Okay, so that's the key here, is that you're constraining that shape to be a perfect square from the center. All right, now what you can do is you could do that multiple times, and you could create, you know, sort of different effects. Like so, just stacked squares as many times as you want. The other thing to keep in mind is modifying these later on. You'll see here at the top I talk about the selection tools, so I'm going to bring that into the equation right now. What we're going to do is we're just going to kind of move these things around. I'm going to talk to you guys about, you know, how this functions. It allows you to scale things. It allows you to rotate them. It allows you to kind of transform them a little bit. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this middle guy right here, and you know, it looks like it's a little uneven right here, this gap. You know, this one's way smaller than that one, so you're going to click on that middle one, and you're just going to hold Alt again, and what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to scale it from the center point. Okay, but we're going to hold shift so it keeps it as a square and move that down, so now it's a little bit more even. This one, it actually looks bigger than the other one, but you get the point. Next thing up, you're going to select the outside one, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees to the right. So you'll see here, if you just click around one of the corners, you'll get this modified little pointer, and it's going to look like a sort of a 90-degree angle with 2 arrows on either side. And what you're going to do is you're going to rotate that. And you can rotate it as much as you want. You could rotate it, and it'll give you a little dialog box there that showcases exactly how many degrees you're rotating this bad boy. Okay, but what we're going to want to do is we're going to rotate it so it's perpendicular, or 45 degrees from its point of origin here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to hold shift. We're going to rotate it to the right. And there you go. You end up with this nice little diamond overlapping two squares. It could be an art piece, modern art, you know, get kind of crazy with it. You can copy and paste these things. So if you copy it and paste it, you could move this back. Okay, do that again, and now you sort of end up getting even more funky with it, right? You can do this, you know, 100 times if you wanted to. Okay, there's plenty of different things you can do. All sorts of random stuff. So anyway, back to the shape tools at hand. We're gonna click, we're gonna hold Alt, we're gonna hold Shift and move it out, and that's it. So those are the three primary ways to do it. Let's just recap again, since I kind of went off on a tangent. You're gonna click here on one, you're gonna just drag down to number 2. You're gonna click on one, you're gonna hold Shift, drag down to 2. You're gonna click on one here in the center, you're gonna hold Alt and Shift and go out to number 2. And there you go. Those are your three primary ways to make an object with the shape tool. Now we're going to do rounded rectangles, and what we have here is basically a predetermined roundness. Okay, you'll see that from making these worksheets, I have mine sort of set up a little different. What we'll do is we're just going to click here on number 1. You're going to drag down to number 2 holding Shift, and you end up with some nice filleted edges. All right, so if you guys don't know what a filleted edge is, it's just a bent edge. It's a perfectly rounded corner. Okay, the handles are still there, the paths are still there. You can kind of see where the pen tool might come in here. That is definitely handy to have. So what you can do with rounded rectangles is actually when you're making a rounded rectangle. Okay, so when I click and I drag this out, okay, and I get to this point down here, you'll notice that my lines don't necessarily line up where they were. If you read this though, you can actually, while holding down Shift and clicking and dragging, you can actually press up and down on the keyboard, on the arrow keys on your keyboard, and you'll end up increasing or decreasing the roundness of the square or rectangle in this case. Well, square in this case, but rectangle tool. So this only works with the rounded rectangle tool. You cannot do this with the actual regular rectangle tool. Okay, so again, up and down with the arrow keys to increase your roundness, and then let go, and you have a more rounded square than you did before. All right, I just wanted to show you guys that so you're not wondering how you sort of get a more rounded edge than a previous one, or you know those social icons you guys see all the time, like we'll fill this with, like, Twitter, and then we'll put a really crappy bird in there just for the sake of time being. So I think it's, God, that is just terrible, but you guys get the idea. We now have a really terrible Twitter logo. Okay, so the way you kind of do that is you just fill it with the color you need. We'll get to that in another lesson. I just want to talk to you guys about the basics. Okay, about the basics. With every shape tool, you can choose it from the toolbar and click it into the artboard to get a pixel accurate dialog box if you need specific sizes. Okay, so what I'm talking about there in this little annotation is that if you need a box, okay, let's say you need a square that is exactly 100 by 100 pixels, if you click on the rectangle tool and you just click in space, what it will do is it pulls up this dialog box, and you can type into it 100, 100, and it will give you a perfect 100 by 100 square. Okay, that's it. Perfect 100 by 100. You could do that. You could say I need a 45 by 45 now. Okay. Right, so that's a really good way to sort of, like, if you need to build something, for instance, if you need to lay out something or wireframe something, and you need a piece of that document to be exactly one particular size, that's how you're gonna do it. Okay, don't try to do any guesswork and, like, oh, it's about 100. you can kind of see down there in the bottom right, it will give you a dialog box. But you see how, let's see if I can get to 100. There it is. So you can do it that way, but as you can see, I mean, you got to be really careful dragging it out. You're way better off just clicking, typing in your number, being done. Okay. To modify it later on, you can also, with any shape, go up top here, and you have width in pixels, height in pixels. You can just type in there, if I want to change that to 200, I can. So now it's double the width. If I need to make the height to match, 200, and now I have double the size of my square. Every time you change it, that dialog box will let you know that the shape has changed its size. So that's just another tool if you need exact in terms of numbers and sizes and shapes. Now we're going to move on. We're going to go to ellipses. So the ellipse tool, we're going to click here. Well, first of all, you're going to grab it. So click and hold and then select it. You can also hit L. Okay. You're going to click and drag it down to 2. It's going to give you a nice little egg here, so to speak. Same thing as we did up here with the rectangles. You're going to click, hold shift, and drag down to 2. And it's going to give you a perfect sphere, or a perfect circle. Sorry, not a sphere. That'd be 3D. And then again from the center. So you're going to click, hold alt, then shift, drag out to match, and then you have a from the center perfect circle. So again, let's just recap those. Regular ellipse, just click, drag wherever you want it to go. Okay, you can make it tall, short, fat, tall, skinny, you know, anything in between, whatever you need it to be. Okay, so just try to get it to line up just so you have a reference. For the shift, you're going to click, hold shift, drag to 2. For the center, you're going to click, then hold alt, drag out to 2. All right. And then polygons. Polygons are the more weird shape, so to speak. What ends up happening is every time you click it, it automatically will come out from the center point. Okay. So you don't have to hold shift. You don't have to hold alt. Okay. If I drag it from the right, it's going to come out from the center. All right, so you're just going to click on number 1 here. You're going to drag it up to number 2, and that's it. If you did want to constrain it to being straight, okay, so if you want flat edges on top and bottom, you can hold shift, and it will give you, you know, you can't rotate it like you can if you're just freely moving it around. All right, so just want to let you guys know that. All right, polygons. Cool trick about polygons, similar to the rounded rectangle, is that you can increase or decrease the number of sides. You'll see here I have a triangle, but in terms of the background image, how do I get a triangle? I have a hexagon right now. Okay, 6 sides. I need to decrease that. So what I can do there is I can actually just tap down on the arrow keys, and it will give me a triangle. If you need to increase or decrease them, okay, you can just hit up or down on the arrows. Okay, so there's a stop sign for you. All right, if you want to get fancy with it, you can go up to 8 sides. Doesn't matter. All right. One other thing is just like the let's go back here just to show you quick dialog boxes. If we go back to ellipse, you can just click in the open, and it will give you the width and height. So again, in this case, it's talking about the width and height across, so your diameters, okay, your y and x diameters here. So if I click again and I go width, I want it to be, width, I want it to be 50. So there we go. It's half as wide as it is tall. Okay. So all that is clicking out in the open. Excuse me. A little burp action. It's gross. You're going to click out in the open. You're just going to, you know, type in your numbers, and then you're going to get that shape. Same thing as with the square. You can click up here and edit these digits accordingly. So if I want that to be 200, there you go. We got a little cat eye going on right now. So that's how you can edit those things on the fly. The same applies not only for ellipses but rounded rectangles. It'll give you a corner radius that you can, you know, that's the corner radius you're increasing or decreasing here. So if I decrease it here, the next time I click, it will actually be a 1 pixel radius to match that previous shape. So just to keep that in mind. And with the polygon tool, it actually will ask you how many sides you want and the radius out from the center point. Okay, so that's important to remember as well. Okay, so the center point is always the center of the shape itself. Just remember that anytime you're using exact numbers. We're going to go to stars now. So what you're going to do here is you're just going to click on the star tool. You're going to click on 1, drag up to 2. All right. Just like we've done previously with the polygons and the rounded rectangles, stars do the same kind of fanciness where when you click and you drag out, I want more sides to the star or more points. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit up. I'm going to tap up multiple times, each one giving me an additional side to the star or additional point to the star. You'll notice though that it's a little bit restricted. Okay, it's a little bit restricted from point to point in terms of the inside and outside point radius or point radius. So from the center to this point, from the center to that point, I'd like them to be a little bit closer. Okay, what you can do is you can just click out in the open and type in the 2 radii you want. So I want one to be 20, I want the other one to be 18, and we're going to end up with this we're going to end up with this very mild star here, if you can even call it that. A lot of people use this to kind of generate some of those more, for lack of a better term, because, you know, I mean, everybody's made a logo like this at some point. You know, those like little hipster style logos. This is usually how they start. They'll start off as a star or a circle with a couple lines in them. It's a really easy way to make those sort of logos. That's how you do that right there. So there, and you can also, I mean, you can do other cool things with that. You know, if you want to make like let's do 40 by 44. If you want to make something like, you know, a first prize ribbon, we can go back to where we had the pen tool, right? You can shift click a couple times and line these things up and end up with some sort of a, you know, like little borderline PBR logo, if you know what I'm talking about there. So you can do some stuff like that and end up with some cool results. Yeah. So that's that for the star. Really, really easy. I'm just showing you guys some real examples of what you can do with them. Last up, super easy. You're just going to combine the two to show you guys how to kind of make different shapes. So you're going to use a rectangle here. You're going to use a polygon. Click out from the center. So you see I found the center of that rectangle, the line on the right face. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click out with a triangle, match that up, and now I have an arrow. Okay. All right, and you'll see I'm switching from line with just the path traced to a fill here. I'm doing that by hitting Shift X. Okay, so Shift X. You can also come down here and click this little button. If you want to do it that way, you can. That's pretty much it, guys. I don't want this to go on too long. It's already been 43 minutes. This is my first tutorial, so I hope you guys learned some stuff. If it's a little bit rough around the edges, I apologize. If you guys have any questions, comments, criticisms, anything like that, do not hesitate to leave a comment. You know, send me a message on Twitter or Facebook or however you prefer to get in touch with me. Whatever medium works for you. All right, just be sure to let me know so I can kind of adjust it, update it, and make it better the next time. All right, because this is my first Workshop Wednesday, and I only want them to get better from here. Again, guys, I'm Garrett Shaw. Thank you for stopping by the channel. Hope you guys learned something today. I'll be back next week with some more advanced stuff. I think we're going to talk about strokes and all the crazy stuff you can do with them. Just a real quick example. You know, you can really get fancy in a hurry with these. You can do some nifty stuff in a couple clicks. All right, so we'll get to that next week now that we kind of have the basics of the pen tool down and the shape tools. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. I know it's a little bit long at 45 minutes, but if you guys want to learn stuff, that's how long the videos are going to kind of have to be. I might break it up into different parts, so this might be part 3, and you might have already watched part 1 and 2. I don't know how I'll do it yet. So like I said, still a work in progress. Thank you guys again, and see you guys next time.